Right, it's time for the next part of the show now. We have a duo. They are called The County Affair. Invite them onto the Danny Sun Presents radio show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Great to be on it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, well, we're The County Affair, which is myself, Kevin, and over there is Tony.
Good to have you on board. And how long have you been doing music for? How long have you been in this business?
Well, believe it or not, over 40 years. We started as teenagers playing in what was called Irish show bands back then in the UK, where there's a big demand for that sort of music. My father had a band and he kindly gave Tony and I a chance to play, which accumulated in playing 2 or 3 times a week. So it became a sort of semi-professional teenage life. Playing all over really the Midlands. We played all over the kind of, Birmingham, Wolverhampton area around where you would be, but up to the Yorkshire, down to Corby, Northampton, etc. So yeah, that was our start many, many years ago.
Lovely. And on to present day, you have a new single called Every Ghost Tells Its Story.
That's right, yeah. It's our second single off an album that's going to come out in the autumn. But the first one we've really been seeking to get radio plays. We've been very pleased. I think we've got about 50 stations playing it at the moment. So off to a good start.
Oh, that's good. And I'm sure it'll grow and grow. And there's 2 versions of the song. I noticed there's a radio edit and then they've got the full 4.5-minute track for the album as well.
Yeah, I think as a new band, 1 or 2 stations felt that 4.5 minutes may be a little bit long. So we just did a shorter version to give more stations a chance to give it an air. That seems to be working.
That's a good idea to have 2 versions, one for each kind of department. And
we could do that.
Oh, hi, Tom. I've got a question for you. And the song mentions ghosts. Have you ever had a supernatural encounter, or is the song meaning totally different?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that the song meaning is different from that in the sense of telling a story about life on the street from the point of view of someone who had a good life by any standard. Someone whose circumstances were comfortable, and then 1 or 2 things went wrong in their lives, and they found themselves on the street. So that's the story of the song. And so, in a sense, it's literally not about ghosts, but it's about the way that that people living on the street might feel that people are just looking straight through them, and in that sense, they are a ghost to people. So, calls for people to think differently about that.
And I was just thinking about this. In parts of the song, they kind of remind me of a bit of Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Bruce has certainly been a kind of lifelong companion to us, and we admire his songwriting and the spirit of the way he speaks for people who perhaps people whose lifestyles aren't in a sense central to or typical in songwriting. So yeah, take that.
And am I correct? I can hear an accordion in the mix as well.
You can indeed. It's that one there. If you can make it out, it's there on the floor. So I played the accordion as a teenager, which wasn't the most stylish or cool thing to do at the time in 1970s England, but it got me on stage with Kevin's father's band. And of course, it was a characteristic feature of the Irish country genre at the time. So I've had you might say, a love-hate relationship with the accordion over the decades, but I always wanted it. I think it lends a nice color and a nice feeling to a lot of songs, and particularly it's nicely blended in kind of Tex-Mex, as was called in the 80s. But yeah, I'm very happy with it these days, and it's nice to be able to add that into the songs that we're making.
Sure. And over to Kevin now. You wrote all the song by yourself, according to my notes, and you recorded it at Abbey Road. That's a bit spectacular.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'd been writing some songs, and we'd started working together again and recording them. And when we decided to take this a bit more seriously, and I stopped full-time work, a producer at Abbey Road, Tom, heard about the story on the radio, listened to our original music and thought there's some potential and said he'd help us. And so a few months later, after more songwriting, we were in Abbey Road, which was is spectacular.
Did you manage to get a picture of you walking across the famous zebra crossing?
I think we managed spectacularly not to do that. I don't know quite how, but we consistently
they were busy days. So when you're in there, you're really making the most of the time, and the team we were working with were saying, right, now this, now this, now this, now this. So you're kind of constantly in demand. We couldn't get together. I did a few takes. I stopped a passerby and got them to take a few of me crossing the zebra crossing, but it kind of wasn't the point because we wanted to do it together. So, well, I guess we'll just have to make an appointment at Abbey Road and do it again.
Yeah, sure. Are you more focused on the job in hand? And when you kind of disbanded, but you're reunited as well. You met on the East Coast in the States, and then you toured again. Was it Texas, San Francisco? What was that experience like touring?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, by the time we were in the US, we'd kind of played probably a couple of hundred gigs in our time in the UK. So we were kind of well versed. And as we played out there, we went down well, which enabled us to get more work. So the tours got bigger. So we did kind of, I think, 3 trips out there, which was absolutely kind of fabulous, as well as a great learning because the shows there, in playing in bars, they expect you to play for about 4 hours with a few breaks. It's a lot of practice. Yeah.
And what do you like about Americana music? Even a little bit of bluegrass as well?
Personally, more. I quite like bluegrass, but more like the kind of songwriting. The work of a Steve Earle or a Joe Ely or Dave Alvin, to name a few, or more recently a Jason Isbell. Although many of those have actually put a few bluegrass tracks out there, and Sturgill Simpson's remade his whole album in bluegrass, which is actually pretty cool. But probably more the rootsier end of the Americana scene I've been listening to since I was 15, which is a long time ago.
And when you're on tour, do you ever miss home as well? When you're on tour,
you might say when we were on tour in America, those occasions in the mid '80s, we didn't miss home because we were 21 and we were male, and we just we weren't looking over our shoulder. We were just so much immersed and involved in the kind of in the moment, I suppose, and even on our days off, if we were gigging 4 nights a week, then on the days off we were hitting the phones to try and hustle for more gigs. It felt that time was precious, and we were in a hurry as young men to kind of do what we were doing and mop up the gigs and create those opportunities. So, but we were young single men at the time, so maybe life would be different when we get on the road in the months ahead from now.
And thank you for that. And finally, 2021, fingers crossed, everything's kind of going in that direction now where people can go back to going to concerts and artists being on stage. Are you looking forward to what this remainder of the year will bring to you both?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we've sort of somewhat sat on the album because of kind of the COVID delays. It was finished by the summer last year. We're confident we'll be able to get out in the autumn, some gigs of our own, but then also hopefully get a support slot on a bigger tour as the American artists start coming over. And that would just be a fantastic opportunity to play the music live.
Well, thank you very much there, guys. We had Kevin from the County Affair there, and also Tony as well. Thanks for joining me on today's show. We're going to get your track Every Ghost Tells a Story right now on the airwaves.
That's great. Thanks for having us on.
Pleasure.